Hi there, I'm Kevin Benedict, and I'm a Senior Vice President of Solution Strategy here at Regalix. I'm also a longtime analyst in the enterprise mobility space, and I'm just thrilled today to have as my guest for this part of the Mobile Expert Series, Jonathan Kaplan. Jonathan, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So Jonathan, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from San Francisco, California.
All right. Matter of fact, I'm just, south of you today here in my office in Mountain View, California. So traffic prevented us from being in the same place today, but I want to again thank you for joining us, Jonathan.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. Looking forward to it.
So Jonathan, you're one of the co-founders here of PowWow Mobile, you're CTO. Tell me how long you've been with the company. When did you found the company?
Yeah, we founded the company now. It's coming up on 6 years.
Okay.
It's been an exciting run. Certainly has come to the forefront over that time.
So I spent 5 years as a CEO of a mobile platform company myself. So I got out before you started though. So by 2012, there was already a lot of consolidation in the marketplace. What made you think it was a good idea to start an enterprise mobility company at that time?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's fun to think back to just how different mobile was. Even those years ago. I remember 6 years ago when most companies thought about mobile, they thought about BlackBerry primarily and how Blackberries. And so when we started PowWow, we saw a lot of changes happening very quickly in mobile with people having personal devices around iOS and Android and smartphones, and realizing that was going to make its way into the enterprise. And I think when we started talking to enterprises about mobile, they were looking at a lot of infrastructure issues. Looking at MDM, they were looking at security, they had all these concerns. But when we started asking them about apps, they kind of gave us a blank stare. And we knew at that point that even if they didn't realize it, that apps were going to be eventually what was driving the mobile ecosystem. And that companies that could help enterprises create apps were going to be where enterprises were going. Now it's been a long time coming. I think over the last 6 years, we've really seen that evolve. But I think, if I look at it today, I think now at least people understand that that's the major problem, even though they don't necessarily even today know how to get there.
Got it. So let me repeat this and see if I understand your opinion then. It's the app part of it that companies are most struggling with now. So you think the infrastructure and kind of the API space and the mobile security and mobile and data security, you think that part is kind of evolved to the part where large enterprises understand what they're doing, but they're still struggling around apps? Is that how I understand it?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think when you look at the numbers, you'll see that enterprises, by and large, the MDM space or EMM space is pretty well established. They know what their options are. But when you look at the number of apps they have deployed, the number of apps hasn't changed that much. But when you look at the number of apps they have on their backlog, that backlog is really starting to grow.
So that's the area you're attacking there. So I understand also, I read a press release that came out, and by the way, congratulations on the launch of your latest update to your application or your platform, Smart UX 6.0.
Yep.
Is that a significant update?
Oh yeah, so this is a huge update for us. So what PowWow Mobile is all about is it's about reducing those barriers to creating enterprise applications. So it's about giving you the power to make use of mobile with the simplicity so that citizen developers can go and actually create applications. And Smart UX 6.0 is a huge evolution in that space. What we've really been able to do is we've been able to take a lot of the processes, a lot of the problems and barriers that are holding enterprises back from building large numbers of mobile applications, and really build a platform that's custom tailored to letting them be productive, really massively increase the productivity of the developers they already have to build mobile applications.
Got it. So we don't have time for everything here, but why don't you give me a highlight of kind of the three biggest changes to your platform?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, we talked about EMM, and security is obviously, the number one checkbox on every CIO's radar when it comes to security. So a big part of this release is integrating into the various security policies that enterprises already have, but also extending that and leveraging that. So being able to make use so that every developer can make use of the powerful tools that are available in the EMM platforms. So what we have is in our drag and drop studio, we've made some major enhancements to allow you to add in security as a part of the context of the application you're building. So for example, if you were building an app that collected a social security number, you can put restrictions on just that social security number field so it can only be seen from within the enterprise. And as you're roaming around the rest of the, as you leave the office, you can no longer see that. So that kind of context-aware security is one piece that we focused on. A second piece that we've focused on, one of the things we hear from enterprises all the time is around mashups, around being able to take lots and lots of different data sources that they have in their enterprise and being able to bring those together into mobile apps. And so in this release, we've released a visual connect layer that actually lets you go through and visually, through drag and drop, integrate a lot of the different data sources that enterprises have very easily into a mobile app. And then third is, again, the data sources have always been a key focus for our company, is the ability to take existing applications that don't have any APIs. So these are the things that are holding enterprises back from mobilization today, is the fact that they have a lot of these applications that have no APIs. We've built a visual system to let you, through drag and drop, turn those applications with no APIs into APIs that can then be consumed by the mobile application.
Oh, got it. So listen, I'm going to stop you there. You mentioned a couple times the notion of citizen developer. And when I read through your content and your website, that comes up as kind of a targeted term. Talk to me about what's the significance of that to enterprises.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think the citizen developer movement is really interesting. I think it's not, it's not new, right? You look at products that are used at every enterprise like SharePoint, right? And these have become successful by this idea of being able to have a core platform that IT installs, but that can be modified or customized or, really changed by the users themselves. And within an enterprise, that really makes a huge difference, because now instead of having to put in a request, wait for IT to honor that request, release a new version of the application, all these different things, the people who are using the platform can just go and modify it themselves. So when we bring that to mobile, there's a huge challenge, again, back to a lot of that security that I talked about, a lot of that data integration. That's what's holding back a citizen developer from being able to create a mobile app.
Got it. I'm a blogger myself, and so I can appreciate being able to go in there and edit the background and publish my own content and change the themes and the layout of a blog. So I guess that's a similar notion, right?
Yeah, that's the idea, is that's exactly the kind of skill set, and those kind of people should be able to build mobile apps, because you think about the kind of things that people want to do with mobile apps. Sure, there are some big complicated mobile apps that people want to build, but there's also a lot of places, things like, simple checklist kind of apps where you want to say, okay, every time our corporation does a new release or goes out in the field and does a new installation, we want to make sure we've done this X number of things. There's a lot of those kind of simple apps that need to be customized on a per organization basis, and citizen developers can make a big difference in that kind of a space.
So Jonathan, in addition to all the cool features that you're putting into your platform, you guys like to talk in terms of speed, complexity, and economics. Matter of fact, one of the claims from PowWow Mobile is that, look, we're disrupting the whole environment around the speed, complexity, and economics of delivering mobile applications. What do you guys mean by that, and why do you use that phrase to really define who you are?
Yeah, I think that the disruption is really key, because when you look at where, again, what it takes to get a mobile app out today, and the reason that most enterprises have such a small number of mobile apps deployed is because it really is an order of magnitude too high in terms of, and really that's in terms of time and in terms of cost. And the way you really attack that time and cost isn't about what you do, it's about who does it. And this comes back to that citizen developer message, right? It's about taking what was a pretty specialized field of mobile application development and bringing it so that, somewhere between a, web developer to citizen developer can really be productive in that space. That's how you disrupt the economics. It's not about, it's not about some new process. It's about enabling this for a different set of people. And that's what we've shown at our customers.
So let's talk about your target audience, Jonathan. Who are you marketing to inside a company? Who's the ones most interested in this kind of platform?
I think that's what I found most interesting about this space, is that there's really a duality, if you will, of two different groups that we talk to, right? One group is IT. And on the one hand, IT is concerned about, they have a lot of very valid concerns about mobile apps around security, around performance, around maintainability, around scalability. All of these things are a big concern to IT. But at the end of the day, it's the line of businesses who actually want the applications, right? They're the ones who are interested in the functionality, who need the functionality. And so today, typically the line of business is going and asking IT to provide applications, and IT, because of the resources that are required to build an application, is generally having to say no. And as much as people might view IT as a center of saying no, actually the people that I talk to, they hate having to say no, right? And so when we talk about this platform, we talk about two different audiences. One is being able to create a central installation that IT can deploy across the whole company. And so that's an IT message, and they're the ones who are looking at the platform, evaluating the security, evaluating the technologies that we use. But once they roll it out, they're then handing it to the line of business. And in our most successful deployments, it's the line of business themselves who are actually going and building the application. So IT gets the security they really want, and they get all the dependability, the maintainability that they're looking for, while the line of business gets a quick way to build the applications that are specific to the line of business that the line of business needs.
All right. Thank you for sharing that, Jonathan. So I'm here in Silicon Valley, and you're basically on the north end of the Silicon Valley here. One of the things that we all are smart enough to do is that as soon as there's a hot technology trend, we need to all have a story about how our products are also involved with that newest, latest, hottest trend. And, in 2018, that's hands down artificial intelligence. Talk to me about your story and how you've been able to extend your enterprise mobility story into the artificial intelligence space.
Yeah, I mean, I think artificial intelligence, and mobility go hand in hand. And the reason for that is maybe not as obvious, maybe not obvious, but in reality, when you're building a mobile experience, you're always having to do more with less. You think about taking what used to be a whole computer screen, you're condensing it down to this really tiny thing. And the way you do that isn't by putting less functionality, it's by being smarter. And the way that we get smarter is through AI. And so in our platform, we're able to hook into a number of different AI engines in order to connect into the intelligence that's there, so that we can take an experience that would have been a large process on a desktop and really turn it from something that you would have done over hours into something that's appropriate for mobile, which is something you do for 30 seconds. So that's one area that's really important for AI. The other area that's really important is in terms of notifications, right? One of the biggest differences between a mobile experience and desktop experience is that a mobile experience is much more often, and they're most effective when they're event driven. So it's not that I sit there and check my email every 30 seconds. It's that my phone is buzzing and telling me that I have no email, and that's driving me.
Yes.
And think about a lot of processes within an enterprise, things like approvals. Those kind of notifications are really important. And what AI can help us with there, and again, being able to plug into a lot of the AI engines that are out there, what they can help us do is they can help us sort through all of the different kind of notifications that we're getting and make sure that we see the most important ones. And so part of the part of our Connect system that we've added in 6.0 is the ability to hook into those kind of AI engines and demonstrate some of those use cases.
Got it. Now, you had earlier mentioned the ability to have certain fields be secure. So if you try to leave the office, the data in those fields disappears as well. Is AI systems involved with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, the security overall is an area where, is a really good application of AI. And I think where we're looking at AI a little bit more generally in security is in being able to monitor what data is going in and out of your mobile applications to look for patterns that indicate security problems. That's it's a level deeper than the field level. But again, because of the way our platform is designed, we provide a really good point to hook into those kind of that AI functionality where you can see all the data that's going back and forth to all your mobile devices, and you can apply AI to implement security there.
Got it. So you passed that test. Let's try one more, Jonathan. Internet of Things. Of course, sensors and the Internet of Things are, just in a hugely expanding area out there. Where do you see touch points between enterprise mobility platforms such as yours and the Internet of Things world?
Yeah, I mean, I think in a lot of ways, the mobile devices that we carry around were kind of a precursor to the Internet of Things, right? They kind of showed us the way that this idea that, going from a laptop or a desktop on my desk to a mobile device really lets me use a lot of the context of what's around me. And that can be really, really valuable. Think about how much faster a process is if you're using a phone, and it already knows where you are. So if you're ordering a car, it just sends it to your address. You don't have to sit there and type in your address.
Right.
So I think IoT takes things one step further, right? It's embedding all of these sensors and all these devices in your environment. And now the key is to make use of that kind of data. And so again, with our 6.0 release, one of the big things we focused on is the data integration. So how can we make use of all the different data that's out there? And one of the biggest sources of that data is through IoT, through connected devices. So how can we use your mobile device as a gateway for that information, but also within the enterprise, how can we capture data that might be relevant to sensors in the enterprise and make that available to people via their mobile devices in a just-in-time manner, so they're getting just the right information when they need it.
Brilliant. So let me pick your mind and have you share your expertise with us here before we wrap up, Jonathan. Talk to me about what you expect to see kind of as major developments over the next 24 months.
So over the next 24 months, I would say it's funny because I talk about the fact that enterprises, the number of apps that enterprises have developed, isn't as big as their backlog. But over the next 24 months, actually what I expect to see is a little bit of a backlash. You think about, if I think about the home screen of my phone, I have a lot of apps, right? I have hundreds of apps, but in reality, I don't use that many of them on a day-to-day basis. And so enterprises have a little bit of the same issue, right? Even as they're starting to develop large numbers of apps, they're starting to look at how can they make those apps more effective, right? And so, going back to what we talked about with artificial intelligence, going back to what we talked about notification, I think that what we'll see over the next 24 months is we'll see a lot more of a focus on mobile devices as an intelligent assistant, right? So instead of instead of it waiting for me to go into apps and wait for me to decide what I want to do, I'm going to be, the mobile device is going to be more of an assistant that's telling me what I should be doing when. And so that's going to be a big development. And again, I think, we've very consciously designed our platform for a world like that, where there's a lot of data coming in and we have to be very selective about what we send to the mobile phone. But the data that we send to the mobile device is all actionable. So it's not about how many apps I have now, it's about the system that's sending me this, the events and the notifications. And I think
I see the same thing when you look at your cars, your newer cars that are surround you with sensors out there. You don't have to turn them all on and read all the data from all the sensors. It's just part of the process. It's going to alert you and let you know when there's a problem or when there's something behind you or when a car pulled away from you or you're getting too close to a car. All that just happens automatically. It's not another app for every sensor. So right. I can appreciate that whole concept out there. Also, I wrote an article that says technology must disappear. And really, it's the same thing that you were just sharing there, Jonathan. There needs to be, natural language processors and digital assistants, voice-enabled digital assistants. So you're interfacing with one kind of bot, if you would, and all those systems can be behind it.
Yeah.
Because, you don't want the 100 apps just to get through your day. You want to be able to give instructions to one interface and have everything behind the scenes happen. Now, that's going to be interesting because everybody wants FaceTime. Everybody wants to promote their products and services. So what happens when all that disappears behind one, Alexa or one Siri? That'll be an interesting business model change that we're all going to have to experience. With that, Jonathan, I want to thank you so much for sharing from PowWow Mobile, your expertise, having been in the industry for a long time, and your latest launch on Smart UX 6.0. And I bet you they can find all of that at powwowmobile.com. Am I right?
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing with all of us, Jonathan.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kevin.